Hello, my dear students. I am Palvanova Nadira Biktirgenovna. Today I am responsible to deliver lesson 12, unit 9.1 at the page of 88. And the theme of this lesson is about green living. Зеленая жизнь или жизнь в природе, как будет удобно для перевода. This lesson includes all skills and it's devoted for the second course students of technical faculties of Tashkent Railway Engineering Institute. Well, and now to the major point of this lesson. Well, look at the plans, please. The plans is about, it consists of, the first is comparatives and superlatives. The second is stressed syllables, and the third is about the nature. Well, look at the vocabulary. It's about the vocabulary about the nature. And we start from the watching the video. This video about the nature. I think the students should listen and try to understand what about this. Well, dear students, you watched the video about the nature. Well, and we'll be back to the vocabulary. As you see, while you were watching the video about the nature, they have 3 questions. I would like to know your meaning about it, okay? And look at the exercise. We continue. Exercise 1A. Work in pairs and discuss have you ever. In this exercise, we use present perfect, as you can see. Have you ever? It means the first is have you ever swum in ocean, a river, or lake? You should to answer these questions. And the second is have you ever worked in a desert or rainforest? And the third is have you ever climbed a mountain? You should to answer all these questions using the present perfect continuous. For example, the first answer should be like that. I have swum in an ocean, for example, in Pacific Ocean. It can be, or I have never swum in an ocean. It is the answer. In your answer, you should to use present perfect. And the second exercise is 1B. Work in pairs and think of an example for each thing in the box. Mountain range. I think you know what is this mountain range. Yep. Горные хребты, если вы помните. Так, and the second is lake. Озера, да, как вы знаем. Waterfall, river, desert, ocean, rainforest. If you don't know these words, you should look through your dictionary, and you should think of the examples. For example, like an example under the box, a mountain range, the ants. What kind of mountain range you know in Uzbekistan, for example, or what kind of lake you know in Uzbekistan, or waterfall, river, desert, ocean, rainforest. And you should to answer. Next is the exercise 1C. Work in pairs. Can you think of cities that have you access to each of these nature features? То есть вы должны постараться вспомнить города, которые имеют доступ к каждой из этих природных особенностей. Вот какие мы здесь природные особенности посмотрели. In exercise B, for example, да? Mountain range, например. Или lake, waterfall. Вот, исходя из этого, вы должны будете отвечать. Значит, в каких городах имеется доступ к каждой из этих природных особенностей. Вот, look at the example, please. In Sydney you can swim in Pacific Ocean. То есть в этом примере используется город Сидней, имеется доступ к Тихому океану, и там вы можете плавать. То же самое you should to use what kind of cities in Uzbekistan you have to access to each of these nature features. Okay. Well, dear students, look at the photos, please. These all photos from the photo bank. With the help of these photos, you should make sentences like in exercise 1C. For example, in Sydney, you can swim in the Pacific Ocean. What can you do? For example, in lake or river or waterfall. What kind of lake, river, waterfall in Uzbekistan you know? Okay. And next is we practice on listening skill. Look at the exercise 2A. Look at photo A and C. What do you think is happening? If you would like to answer this question, let's do exercise 2B and listen the recording.
Unit 9. Nature. Recording 1.
Hi, and welcome to Green Ideas. Now, the problem with some of the traditional ways of saving the environment is that they can be really boring. So today, we're looking at ideas for protecting the environment that are a bit different, and we think they sound fun. Our first project is called Hug It Forward. This great project started in Guatemala, where communities decided to work together to build schools out of old plastic bottles. In the first project, over 1,800 kids from the region filled 10,000 plastic bottles with bits of plastic, food wrappers, and other rubbish found on the streets. They then used the bottles as bricks to help build a school. By the time they'd finished, they had a new school and the area was a lot cleaner too. Now the idea is spreading, and around the world more communities are using the bottle school technology to build their own schools. What a fantastic idea! And here's an idea for those of you who enjoy going out clubbing. The Saria nightclub in London was one of the first eco-friendly nightclubs in the UK. The club has a special dance floor, which uses the movement people make when they dance to generate energy. The dancers managed to produce 60% of the energy that the club uses for light and music. The owner of the eco club had another great idea. If you walk or cycle to the club rather than using a car or public transport, you get free entry. I love it. And our final idea for today is the story of the Seoul River Park. It's getting more and more difficult to find green spaces in cities. So when Dr. Ki Huang had a crazy idea to take down the city's main highway and uncover the river that flowed below to make a green park, most people thought he was mad. They told him that his idea would create traffic chaos and would be a disaster for the area. But Dr. Huang went ahead with the project and created the 5.8-kilometer Green River Park. It's a place where the residents of Seoul can walk, relax, and really enjoy the city. And you know what? People are happier. And there's a lot less traffic chaos than before. It just shows that sometimes even the craziest ideas can work.
Well, after the listening this recording, I think you can answer all the questions from the exercise 2A. The question was, what do you think is happening? You should look through all these three pictures and try to answer all these questions. And you can answer the exercise 2C, the program, what the program talks about, 3 green ideas and what are they. And the third is, You should to read the summary below and you can find 4 mistakes. Well, and the next is, well, and we continue our lesson. Now is grammar. As you can see here, you can see the grammar about comparatives and superlatives. I'll try to explain you. Well, we have type of adjectives, examples. Look through all these type of adjectives and examples. For example, the first is one syllable. Type of adjective, one syllable. For example, cheap. If we would like to compare, we should plus er, cheaper. The next is superlative, plus e, the article the, and plus est, the cheapest. And the next type of adjectives is some two syllables. Some two syllable. For example, quite. In comparative, quieter with plus er. In superlative, article the plus est, the quietest. We should be very look at the adjectives ending in e. For example, safe. In comparative, we should plus just r. Safe, safer. In superlative, the safest. If our adjective ending in y, we should, for example, friendly, it's ending in y. We minus y and plus ier, friendlier, friendlier. In superlative, as you can see, article the plus y, minus y and plus iest, the friendliest. If our adjective ending in cvs, for example, big, in comparative, double the final constant plus er, big, bigger. In superlative, the biggest. Many two or more syllable. For example, interesting. In comparative, we should plus more before adjective. For example, more interesting or less interesting. In superlative, the most or least, plus adjective, the most interesting or less interesting. And so we have the kind of type of adjective like irregular adjective. For example, good, bad, and far. In comparative, good, better, the best. In comparative and superlative, the irregular adjective bad, worse, the worst. And the irregular adjective far. In comparative, further, and in superlative, the furthest. There are different ways to compare one or more things. Superiority, much, or a lot more, plus adjective, and after that plus than. For example, A is a lot more expensive than B. Equality, the same as plus adjective plus s. A is the same as B. Inferiority, not as. So plus adjective plus as. A is not as big as B. It is possible to use comparatives with nouns. More or less plus noun. He has more money than we thought. It is common to use the superlative with the present perfect. For example, it is the best restaurant I have ever been to. Well, and we do some grammar exercises after the explanation. I think it will be not difficult to you. For example, the first exercise 4a. Read sentences 1, 2, 5 and complete the rule. We should complete the rule after the reading all these 5 sentences. The first, look at the first. The area was a lot cleaner too. What we to plus at the end of the adjective in this example, er, as you can see. So look at the rules. Use comparatives to compare two things, people or situations. With short adjectives, add what we should to add. Sorry, what we should add. Er or IER to the end of the adjective and plus then. People are happier than before. And the third one is, it gets more difficult to find green spaces in cities. Well, with the longer adjectives, use what? Well, I think you understand what about it. You should use more plus adjective. And the first one, more communities are building their own schools. And the fifth one is, there is less traffic choice than before. Look at the rules. We also use more or less plus noun to compare things. Clear? And exercise 4b, you should do by yourself. And look at the exercise 5a. Complete the table. If you to do this exercise right, you should listen the exercise 5b and 5c.
Unit 9. Recording 2. 1.
Long, longer, the longest.
2.
High, higher, the highest.
3.
Healthy, healthier, the healthiest.
4.
Difficult, more difficult, the most difficult.
Unit 9. Recording 3. 1. It's the most beautiful place I've ever been to. 2. It's hotter than I expected. 3. The food is cheaper than at home. 4. It's more dangerous than I thought.
Well, after you listen the recording, and I think it will be not so difficult to do exercise 5b and 5c. And look at the exercise 6a. Complete the questions. Use the comparative or superlative form of the adjective in brackets. Let's do together the first example. What is part of your town? And what do you think? What we ought to put? What kind of adjective? Green or greener? What is part of your town? What is the greenest part of your town? Clear? And the next examples 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 you ought to do by yourself. Okay? And the next is speaking skill. Look at the exercise 7a. We ought to work in pairs, read the eco survey. What can you do to the project, the environment, and write 2 more questions. You ought to read all these questions and write and add your own 2 more questions. The 5th and the 6th is your own questions. Okay? And try to answer all these questions. And the next is exercise 8. Exercise 8a. Underline the correct alternative. Look at the first example. Is this your, or your umbrella? Which is right? Is this your umbrella or is this your umbrella? What do you think, students? Which is right? If your answer is this your umbrella, it's right. And the next examples from the 2 to 6 you should do by yourself. Okay? And look at exercise 8b. Find and correct 6 spelling mistakes. Well, in this exercise, you ought to read and try to find 6 mistakes, spelling mistakes. Do it by yourself. And the next is your home task. You ought to do it by yourself. It's your home task and I'll check. If you would like to know how can I'll check all this exercises, exercise 9a and 9b. You ought to screenshot and send to me, and I'll check. Well, my dear students, the lesson is over and our time is over. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye. See you next time.